Hello. This tutorial is going to take you through the Primetime Integrated Financial Calculator budgets. So this is probably the most comprehensive part of the checklists and planners as it combines all the various parts of your financial assets, liabilities, income, costs, what you want to do through retirement, your gifting and your asset distribution for estate planning purposes. It combines all these things. They can be done separately or together. So where you find it is in the Primetime tools and templates within the Integrated Financial Budget Calculators. That carries all the separate calculators within the menu. So you need to download this, and then once you've worked on it, you can then upload it back into your filing cabinet for working later on. So you might put it within your budget, your finance budgets. So I've downloaded one, so let's have a look. One of the things you want to work through is that I'll just look at when you open up one of the spreadsheets, you may get a security warning about the macros being disabled. Don't panic. You just need to click on Enable Content, and then you can continue using the spreadsheet. Okay, so this is the Integrated Financial Calculators. You need to agree to the terms and start. Now there is a separate tutorial, a detailed tutorial for each of these items on the list. So I'm not going to redo it, we're just going to go through briefly what each of them does. So when you start off, you may want to put your advisor details and your details down here. Also, what you want to do is you want to populate this with all your beneficiaries, all the people and all the entities who might be responsible to help you, and also any entity or structure which might own assets or have liabilities attached. So what happens is whenever there's a drop down box within the calculators for beneficiaries, for ownership structure, etc., they'll contain these names, and you can just choose from these names. So you need to populate these. So to start off with, the budget planner sheet is a sheet which calculates all your living costs in a detailed manner. So all your living costs, line by line, you can input, and what that does feeds into your 25-year living cost calculator. So they're your day-to-day living costs. Your bucket list planner and calculator works out all your bucket list items that you might want to do. It will tell you, it will ask you how important it is, so you can put all your important bucket list items and prioritise those. And it also allows you to cost it and date it so that it feeds into the living cost calculator. So if you want to do something on a certain year, it can then feed into your long-term budgets, and you can see whether you can afford to do that or whether you can afford to do more. The same applies for your major cost planner and calculator. So it's exactly the same principle. Once again, looks at the most likely, if it's more or less likely to be incurred. Some major costs might be optional, some might be needed. So it works that through, and then it feeds into the living cost calculator. The money gifting planner and schedule. So for each of your beneficiaries, each people, you may want to gift money over your life, help people out, or keep track of what you've given them, or whether they perhaps are loans. And this enables you to keep track of that, and it can be used by your powers of attorney, by the executive of your estate later on, if they want to work through your beneficiaries and who's entitled to what from the estate in accordance with your wishes. Net asset calculator is where you put all your assets, and it enables you to be able to record your assets when they're purchased, the value of those assets, whether there's likely to be tax attached on the sale of those assets, and what that tax might be, whether they might be included in your means testing or not. So that's a fairly powerful calculator. It also feeds into your living cost calculator because your assets, your net assets, that means assets after your liabilities, is going to be what funds your retirement. If you haven't got a lot of liquid assets, it'll help you, once you look at the living cost calculator, it'll help you determine when you might need to sell assets and which assets you might want to sell. You can do some scenarios. The liability contingency calculator works out what you can record all your liabilities and then feeds into your net asset calculator, which gives you your net assets after your debts and contingencies. Finally, asset planning distribution. So your net assets feeds into your estate planning asset distribution. You can do some scenarios about which assets you might want to gift or pass on as part of your estate, whether you might need to sell some and fund spending whilst living, or whether there's a bit of both, freeing up cash to perhaps for gifting and for living purposes. So they're all the calculators. Once again, if you want to use them, look at the detailed video tutorial which will help you step by step each of those calculators. Thanks very much.